included in on that. Under law enforcement and crime prevention, I am going to ensure that every police officer will and can undergo a federal background check. The purpose of a federal background check is to remove any blind spots that may have occurred with only the local and or state background checks. The federal background checks will ensure that every police officer can provide proof of citizenship or legal resident status that permits them to qualify for the job of police officer. Again, if that police officer cannot show proof of citizenship and cannot pass a federal background check, it makes them vulnerable to blackmail, extortion, and most especially coercion. You know, I have seen where there are some who have, you know, they're subjected to coercion because they cannot pass a federal background check and they cannot provide, they are unable to provide proof of citizenship. Myself, I've had 7 background checks. I've had 2 in high school with the Department of Defense, 2 in college with the FBI and the Department of Defense, 1 post-college with the Department of Defense, and 1 as an FBI applicant and 1 as a Secret Service applicant. Also under law enforcement and crime prevention, 2 things. I will dismantle the Civilian Complaint Review Board. The civilian, all those responsibilities will be transferred back to the New York City Council. The Civilian Complaint Review Board, it was used to address the lawmaking. It was used to address and investigate problems and discipline for police officers. However, you know, those majority of those complaints are going unsubstantiated. Very few police officers are being held accountable for their actions when you submit a complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Instead, I'm going to have it go back to the City Council, because at one time it was with the City Council. Have it go back to the City Council and allow them to look at those things and recommend further action if necessary. And with that too, with the under law enforcement and crime prevention, I'm going to dismantle the New York Police Department Firearms License Division. The Firearm License Division will be transferred to the New York City Council, and they will review all applications, sign off on background check findings, and additionally approvals, denials, and all appeals will be conducted through the New York City Council. Will be conducted through the City Council. This will allow the City Council can look and see if their requirements, if their findings with the background check are accurate and real. I've gone through an experience with that when I applied for a firearm license, and they accused me of finding different things in my background check that was not real and that were not true. And I had to show proof that these things were not true. However, they did not have to show proof that it was. They didn't have to show any proof. They didn't have to provide any information. It was just word of mouth. And I had to run around, which I was able to do, but I had to run around and show that the things that they said that they had found were not true. And they were never required to show proof of these information. And with me, I'm going to ensure that the City Council must require that they look at these records and look at whatever their findings to see if it is indeed true. Under the the things that are required for a person who is prohibited from possessing firearms is that anyone under indictment for a crime for which they can be imprisoned for more than 1 year. With those things, with the following things, they cannot, you cannot receive a firearm license. Also, anyone convicted of a crime for which they can be imprisoned for more than 1 year. Anyone who is an unlawful user of marijuana, narcotics, or any controlled substance. Anyone who has been adjudicated mentally defective or involuntarily committed to a mental institution. That goes back to the permanent housing for the mentally ill. Anyone dishonorably discharged from the armed forces, anyone in the United States illegally, and anyone subject to a court order restraining them from harassing, stalking, or threatening an intimate partner or a child of a partner, and anyone convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. Last but not least, under a few additional policies, I will ensure that all public transportation will be free once we secure contracts with the single market. All public transportation, that includes the buses, the express buses, subways, trains, they will be free. And New York City residents will only have to pay for parking, congestion tolls, or any parking tickets that you may acquire. And I am truly a supporter of America First. And I do not believe in paying and acquiring illegal immigrants into this country only to have them to do the jobs so that we can save a buck or two. In my opinion, when I see illegal immigrants come into this country under different type of programs, or the ones that just come in illegally, the ones that come in on the program, they say they're here legally, but the ones that come in, you know, they give them these jobs so that they do not have to pay Americans. And I am truly America First. I have no problems paying an American top dollar to do a job. I have no problems. I don't see a benefit, in my opinion, of paying an illegal immigrant, you know, a fraction of the money just so I can save a buck or two. I am truly America First, and when you are America First, you will pay Americans a living wage. I don't want to see Americans struggle to make ends meet simply because I don't want to pay them what they should be paid. I have other things that are listed under my policies of immigration, taxes and revenue, budget, law enforcement and crime prevention, the infrastructure. And you can find those information and those details on my YouTube channel at Tabitha C.L. Ward. That is where I have gone into much more, you know, greater details and explained more of the things that you can find under my policies. And I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Tabitha.
Sure.
I'll ask the first question. As mayor, would you still support the congestion pricing, or would you be against that? I mean, I know what the president just did right now, but that'll be going to the courts. Let's just say you're a mayor still and the president is no longer president and he left office, and now it's, God forbid, a Democrat as president. Would you be still in support of bringing that thing back if that winds up being adjudicated in the courts, that it's no longer valid at that present moment? Would you be in support of bringing congestion pricing back or against it?
I would probably, more than likely, I would stay out of the fray with that. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because I would ensure that public transportation is free.
Right.
So because I will be ensuring that public transportation is free, I would for me, I would lean toward New Yorkers taking advantage of the public transportation. Right. Instead of that, you know, because that is something that has to do with the governor. So, you know, it will be the governor that is the one who has put congestion prices in place. And, you know, as with the governor, they're the only one that can either, they can fight to bring it back, mm-hmm. or they can stick with it. You know, I guess it's being repealed right now, right. Rescinded. So, you know, it will be the governor that would do it. For me, I would just make sure that public transportation is free and available for New York City residents, okay. and visitors.
And which would help people who, and of course when you're talking about the mental health aspect of the people being on the street, one big major reason why people don't want to take the public transit
exactly.
system is because it is a moving psych ward on wheels, exactly. with a lot of and also a Motel 6 wheel, leave the light on in the trains, and you know, no one wants to go be a part of that environment. So by you dealing with the mental health issues and the homeless,
it's more appealing.
That would be more appealing for people to take public transit, especially if it's free. So that would, I believe, solve a lot of the so-called issues that the we'll call it the left side of the issue were advocating to have less congestion. Well, sure, less congestion, but people don't want to travel on a system that could stab you or make you go be part of the oncoming F train, right. while you're at the station. So
yes, I speak for, you know, also in reference to the Marine who had to subdue that young man on the
right.
on the train. You know, with my policy, he would have been in permanent housing for the mentally ill, mm-hmm. and if he was not on his meds, if he had not have taken his gone to his medical appointments, if he had not have gone to his scheduled therapy and counseling sessions, he would not have been allowed to leave. And I always put the emphasis on medical appointments For people who are having a mental health breakdown or are, have not taken their meds or have not gone to their counseling and therapy sessions, they usually do something physically to themselves. There's some kind of physical note change that you would notice with them that could be caught by their medical doctor.
Right.
So there's usually something. The first sign is the physical. That's why I always emphasize them going to their medical appointments, because that's the first sign that shows that they're on their, they've fallen off. They haven't been taking their meds.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And nice hearing you. And what is your stance on those illegal scooters that's going around, going on sidewalks and almost hitting people, and they drive around with no insurance, they have no registration at all, and people like me and other people that have a car and we have to register the car, have a license, pay insurance on it, and was it during the summer? I think it was maybe September, at Caesar's Bay, near Coles. One of them hit my car and it cost me $3,800, and he just went on the scooter and didn't book. Like, how is it? Like, how is that okay that they could just go, get away with that?
Yeah, well, under my administration, I would ensure that any moving vehicle, any moving machinery that has a motor, if it has a motor, you must have it registered. You must have a license plate, just like a motorcycle. You must have a license plate. You must have a license to do that. I've had several run-ins with someone on those scooters on the sidewalk. They're able to use it on the sidewalk, and I've almost been run over on the sidewalk with that. So under my administration, if it has a motor, if it's something that you don't have to use your foot like a Fred Flintstone, if you're not using it like Fred Flintstone, if you're not driving it like that, you need to have it on the street. So that's one thing, is that it cannot be on the sidewalk. I will require that they be removed from the sidewalk and that it is illegal. And if a police officer observes you riding on the sidewalk with those scooters, that is just like you driving a car on the sidewalk. You are to be charged and be arrested as if you drove a car, you're driving a car on the sidewalk. So we would treat it the same. Put it on the street, keep it on the street, and on the street you need to have a license plate and you need to have a license. And the license requirement would be the same as if you was riding a motorcycle. It would be the same, because it's pretty much.
Are those scooters illegal technically? I mean, I thought they were originally and then they allowed it, or what is?
There's no enforcement. I mean, I think anything with wheels shouldn't be allowed on the sidewalk.
Right.
Isn't that a current law? I mean,
Yes, that is.
So
The bicycles? I don't think.
Bicycles.
By a
Yeah,
certain
they
age,
should.
like if you're a kid, you're allowed. But
Right.
Anything with a motor.
But anything with wheels should, I think
You
currently
can
it's
tell them,
illegal.
put it on the road, keep it on the street.
Now,
But there's no enforcement. The
Right.
police
Right.
aren't enforcing it.
Now, the
Well,
thing
you
with
should be
these,
able to.
with the electric bikes, they also cause fires with the
Yes,
batteries.
in my
And a lot
building,
of fires in New York City are a result of these lithium ion batteries going up in flames while they're in the home, being charged and such like that. So especially as the bikes get older and they get the cheaper replacement batteries from China, and then when you have the cheaper replacement batteries, they're not the ULD whatever standard, and now those are more apt to explode, and which you see all the time. A lot of fires. We had warehouse fires, in the police warehouse fire about a year and a half ago, went up in flames because of these lithium-ion batteries from the confiscated bikes.
A fire in my building too.
Due to the same issue?
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of deaths have occurred because of that. So I believe they're illegal. Maybe I'm wrong about the law. I mean, I'm talking about electric bikes in general. If they're not, would you support, because they are a hazard, I think. They are going so much faster than a normal bike. They should really have insurance and a license if they're going that fast, but they don't. So I think they should be illegal, because it's like the Wild Wild West. All of a sudden I'm driving and a bike could come out of like a weird angle, like 100 miles per hour, so to speak, and you're like, where is this coming from? And it's horrible, and no one's enforcing anything.
I will ensure, just like I said, with the scooters, that you must treat this as if you have a car.
Right.
So, you know, you cannot ride your motorcycle through cars or coming on the side. You can't do it with the motorcycle. You will not be able to do it with those lithium bikes. And you must park that bike outside, just like you
Right.
park everything
And
else.
would these lithium, if we're allowing the bikes, would you support then that they have to have insurance?
Absolutely.
and
Same thing with the
license?
scooter.
Right, exactly.
License plate, insurance, you must take a test.
Right.
And I'm gonna let ensure that the test is along the same road as the
scooter,
motorcycle,
right.
as the motorcycle. Driving test too. Go
I
ahead.
got one more too. So let's see if I think it happened like a couple of years ago that these people were driving around with the reflectors and at the store that they work for. You know, and if they don't have insurance, you should be able to go after the company that they're working for,
Well, that's-
and allowing it.
Well,
You know.
A lot of them
Sure,
are Uber Eats.
but
Yeah.
because it's gonna be a law that you have to have insurance and
Yeah.
you have to have a license plate and you must take a test, you cannot just, drive this as if you're driving a motorcycle. I'm gonna put it all as under the same category as a motorcycle. You know, those scooters, those electric bikes, everything to me is going right up under that category of a motorcycle. So if they have the name of the store, whatever they're doing, you have to have insurance like you did like you would if you're driving a car or a motorcycle. You have to have a license plate like you would if you were driving a motorcycle. You gotta park that thing on the street just like you do if you were driving a car or a motorcycle. That has to be, you cannot bring that inside your building.
Right.
That's the thing. You cannot bring it inside of your building. You can't
No, it's all right.
drive your electric car inside of your building. You cannot drive that electric
Now,
scooter.
when your building went on fire, was it a major fire or just like a small fire, like anyone was injured?
Yes, there was a guy who was burnt badly.
Oh, my
He
God.
was burnt so bad. He was in the hospital for almost a year, and you can see him now. When I never noticed him before, but now he looks, and this is a terrible a comparison, but he looks like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Registration also help with making sure you have certified batteries. I had another question.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on school vouchers and school choice?
For it, I do think that parents should be able to decide where their kids go to school and should be able to, decide the best education. But I'm also for increasing the education budget and ensuring that teachers are, you have the same grade or the same quality of teacher regardless to what school you go to. The reason for school vouchers and school choice is because parents want their children to have the best education and have the best teachers. For me, I'm going to ensure that teachers are, you have to have you have to have a 4-year degree at least to teach a preschool, Head Start, elementary, middle, and high school. You must have a 4-year degree. You must, you have to have, of course, more, to teach college. But I'm going to ensure that teachers are falling under, are under the requirement, the best requirements, and that their salaries are going to start out at $100,000 a year. So there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to require in order to do that. So, but they will, if they want that $100,000 a year, if they want to remain as teachers in New York City, they're going to have to fall under those requirements that I'm going to set forth. So I do agree with school choice or school vouchers. However, I'm going to ensure that you have the same grade or level of teachers across the board, so there really won't be a reason for you to specifically want your child to go to this school or that school. It will not be because of the quality of the teaching. You may have another reason for why you want your child to go over there, but it will not be because these teachers are better than these teachers over here, or they teach a better, they're better curriculum. It's not going to be that. It's going to be whatever other reason, but it won't be those. Because those teachers, I'm going to streamline the teaching with the education system to where they all have to have a certain type of a degree in the field and in the classes that they teach, and that they are following up, that they fit the same standard of requirements, and that their salaries, they will start out at $100,000 a year.
Also, as mayor, what would you